Thank you very much. We'll get going. Good evening, everyone. If the commissioners can make sure that their mics are where you can be heard and anyway, welcome to everybody. This is the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission. It is February 7th, 2024, 6:30 p.m. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. The James H. Crocker Hearing Room? Selectmen's Conference Room, actually, at 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, February 7th, 2024. This meeting, February 7th, 2024, is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20. Chair must inquire as to whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, to please make their presence known. Nobody recording? Excellent. If I could ask everyone to please silence their cell phones. I'm one of the worst offenders. I've gotten into the habit teaching myself. Anyway, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Commissioner Kevin Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Cornelius Carley, he did let us know he would be unable to make it tonight. Commissioner Jennifer Hinckley Needham.
Here.
Commissioner Matt Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Laura Cronin did let us know she would not be unable to make it tonight. Commissioner Tom Doherty.
Here.
And I, Cheryl Powell, Chair, I'm also here, and I want to also acknowledge Vice Chair Commissioner Jack Kay.
Here.
With the special gratitude that he flew all the way back from California so that we'd be sure to have a quorum. So that's roll call to order. And I did leave something in my briefcase. If someone will remind me to go over the purpose whenever we have it. Nope, have that for later.
You like a copy?
I've got it. I knew I put it in there, but thank you. So to remind the commissioners, this is our purview. The purpose of this article is to promote the educational, cultural, economic, and general welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Barnstable and the town's unique community character through the preservation and protection of the distinctive characteristics of buildings, structures, and places significant in the history and architecture of Barnstable, and through the preservation, maintenance, and improvement of appropriate settings for such buildings, structures, and places, and the encouragement of new design which is compatible with the existing historical and community character, and through the benefits resulting to the economy of said town by preserving and enhancing the amenities and historical aspects of the various villages and areas which make Barnstable a desirable place to live and for tourists to visit. Anyway, so that takes us down to purpose. Welcome to everybody who has attended tonight, anyone who is in support or has things to say from public comment. Also, if I could ask our staff to please, say hello.
Karen Pina, Administrative Assistant, Planning and Development.
And Jim Kupfer, Assistant Director, Planning and Development.
Thank you very much. We don't have anything on trainings, just a reminder for people that have conflict of interest, things to update, please do so. Nothing on awards tonight. We do have correspondence, but we have it with regard to applications, so we'll take those if none of the commissioners object as and when those particular items come up. Is that okay? So I want to come back to that. Okay, so new business. Harborview Hotel Investors, LLC, 213 Ocean Street, Hyannis, map 326, parcel 035. Is anyone here to represent that? And if so, could you please come up and join us? So we can share the mic. And if you could please sign in for us. Karen can fill in the parcel IDs and that, unless you know it. Yeah, you're all right with that, aren't you? Yeah. I just want to make sure that hadn't changed. You're happy to fill that in?
Reference would just be the company.
She'll put it in. Yeah, it's fine.
All right.
So sign it. Thank you. Your water. This lunch.
Good evening, Board. It's good to see everyone again.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Do you want me to just go?
Oh, please, please, give us your presentation.
So our proposal is to replace the existing wood and fabric structure, which is the Blue Water Grill dining area at 213 Ocean Street, the Hyannis Harbor Hotel, where we're currently doing some other work, and replace it with a new similar wooden structure with a fabric roof. So we have sent drawings of what it would look like, the redesign. I also have Matt Sperry here from Sperry Fabric Architecture, if there's any questions in regards to the structure or the fabric as proposed.
Can I put you down here by your...
Thank you. I want to sit there.
Words? That's okay.
Please proceed.
That was my kind of opening spiel. I know we'd sent the plans and the drawings. I don't know if anyone has any questions on what we're proposing.
I do. I love everything you're doing down there. I think you're doing an absolutely beautiful job. The architectural firm is out of Newport, is it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Now, you're going to be open year-round.
The hotel, yes. Yep.
Now, will this patio be used year-round, or with heating, any heating lamps, or?
I don't think the restaurant's going to be open
I don't believe so.
year-round.
I think as
It's
it
just
is now, it's seasonal. The fabric stays on year-round, but the
stays
restaurant
year-round.
closes.
That was my question. So the fabric will stay on year-round?
Yeah, it's mainly pretty much an open air. I mean, they could probably put heat lamps in if they wanted to, but there's not really. There is going to be curtains on the side to kind of close it in, but it's still kind of pretty much more, I think, tent-like than
Yeah.
like a permanent structure.
That's the color that it's going
No,
to?
the color is, there's a fabric sample here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
excellent. Thank you.
okay.
And I have a number of them if you want.
Would you mind passing it around?
Yeah. I have a couple
Is
more.
there anything else you wanted to display or pass around?
I think just the fabric samples. It's a little different, design instead of a traditional asphalt roof or a metal roof.
Can I have one?
But it is similar to
thanks.
what's existing there now.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the same fabric.
We actually made the fabric for the one that's on there now. It's very similar.
Surge, Ferrari, Flexi Light.
It's textured on one side.
Yeah, it's nice. It's sort of a matte finish. It's not shiny. And we choose fabrics that sort of aren't that sort of shiny white, so it doesn't really sort of shine out like that shiny vinyl plastic.
It will go well with in my opinion, with the lights they have in the trees. It's kind of
Right.
accentuating that. Very classic.
And it's translucent. It lets light through it. It also sort of glows a little bit at night if it's lit up from the inside.
Surface is up. The smoother one,
The smoother one.
that's the up,
Smoother one.
yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
So the textured one is where you can
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
How do you attach it?
So it's a wooden structure, so all of this will be laminated wooden structure with tracks. So there'll be panels that sort of slide up, a number of panels that slide up in each bay. So it's almost like on a boat, you have a sail that slides in a track in the same way.
I know I have a skipper's license, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
I'm sure you're gonna have a fun time with the building department, because I guess the uplift and engineering on this is pretty excessive.
It is. And
Yeah.
I mean, we work with a specialty engineer who's stamped those drawings and he specializes in fabric structures. So
Very
we do that all the time.
Very good.
Strong material. It doesn't look at it like it from a distance, but you can certainly tell when you touch it.
It's pretty rugged,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty
It
rugged.
is pretty rugged.
Anything else you wanted to present before I ask the commissioners for more
Most of it,
comments?
I think there are, I think, some better renderings that we have now that we didn't have before. That we could hand around, that gives you a little better sense of what.
I have some other copies too that I
Yeah.
printed.
Yeah.
Pass those down. My printer isn't as nice as
I'm
his.
having the same problem with my printer. Everything was pink when I first printed it with stripes.
Mine has stripes.
I noticed. Your printer and my printer are communicating.
Here, Tom. You see these?
I'm sure the colors of the flag.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, what's there now is an old sort of metal tube structure, which we worked on a little bit years ago to try and sort of pretty it up a little bit. But obviously, these guys are ready to make a big jump.
The wood looks nice. The design of the structure looks nice too.
And it's a very comprehensive presentation. Thank you, appreciate that. Do any of the commissioners have any other questions with regard to the presentation before I open it up to public comment? No takers? I'm going to open it up to public comment. Is there anyone here to speak with regard to this application? Nope. All right. So I'm going to ask staff if you'd like to give us some, your take on it?
Yep, just a couple clarifying questions, if I may. So I got the cream or the specific color of that, so we'll highlight that in any decision rendered. You mentioned the curtains that go around. Right now, it's like a clear plastic that goes around. That's going to remain very likely? Or is there any thoughts to any other types of curtain?
It will be clear.
It will be clear?
It will have a
Yep.
border. They'll be bordered in the same color.
Okay. And then the beams and trusses, it's labeled as pine. Is that going to be just a natural pine, or are you going to varnished?
Have a varnish on it.
Okay. Excellent. And then no new lighting proposed or signage or anything like that at this time?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Excellent. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. You asked the lighting, I was going to ask that. Excellent. So we've opened it up. I'll keep it open to public comment until we go to the motions. I would hope that any of the motions would be that if the lighting is going to change, that you would come back to us for that approval, please, if passing. And the colors of the wood are pretty much as you presented there. The only question I do have is, again, with regard to the plastic, because I wanted to make sure it was safe so people wouldn't go through it, so it's not going to be a clear plastic so people can go through it. They'll be able to see what it is.
They will.
Yeah, just for safety issues.
Yes, you do see that, and there will be sets of, the main entry will have hard doors for, proper exits with, push bars, and, there'll be wood doors,
Okay,
but there'll be,
okay.
the rest of them are roll-up sidewalls, yeah. Most of it, in the summertime, will be open unless it's bad weather.
Okay. Would they have some weights in the bottom for when there's a high wind?
There's a batten in the bottom, so like
It's
a
a
pipe
batten.
in the bottom.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Commissioners, any others from public comment? Nope. So, Commissioners, what do you think of this?
It's great.
Yeah, good.
Well, that's positive feedback
Yeah,
before the vote.
Thank you.
All right. So,
What you're doing down there is terrific.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
So, I will then, unless anyone has anything else to say, I will close public comment and ask one of the commissioners to make a motion on the findings, please.
I move that the commission find the application to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district at 213 Ocean Street, Hyannis.
Is there a second?
Nat?
Second by Commissioner Kay. All right, Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley-Needham. Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
I also say aye. So, would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the certificate of appropriateness, please?
I got it.
There's cheat sheets right up here for anyone.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness to the application at 213 Ocean Street, Hyannis, as described in the submitted materials.
I'll second that.
And seconded by Commissioner Kay. I'll start on this side of the room this time. Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley-Needham.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
I also say aye, and congratulations, and thank you for such a nice presentation and for working really hard on that.
Sure, thanks again to the board. We look
Thank you.
forward to continuing
Beautiful.
doing good things in
We
the
look
town.
forward to building it.
Will it be done before the summer or no?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, having our processes go.
There one day? What do you
Yeah.
think underneath?
Oh, yeah, I think that ought to be a future
Not a
commission
bad idea,
meeting.
right? Field trip for the board.
Yeah.
As long as we post it, we can do it.
Yeah.
You thought you'd throw that in. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
All right.
I know.
Any,
Dan, which one do you want?
It's __dockside. It's inside there. I'll just flip through them, so we should open up while we read. Substantive.
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, you want to just do them all and do a temporary directory?
public comment, or would you like to? Is that all right?
The unilogic.
Well, we'll just keep.
No, I don't think it's appropriate to read my letter because I will speak in public comment.
Okay, do you want to take care of your letter, or?
Just procedurally, I don't think it's fair to have him read my letter and have me talk.
So just let you
So
talk.
I'm going to talk, and the letter's in the file just for the.
No, we do what, that's fine. I just needed to know.
You know I'm so brief, Karen,
Man, a few words.
but I don't think it's fair to do both.
That's fine, as long as we're giving it proper attention. All right, so tell us a little bit about, oh, actually, have we signed in? You haven't signed in. Where's the, oh, you have, it's down there. So when you speak, if I could get you, just say your name.
Sure.
And what you're.
I could start, and you guys can jump in at any time. But,
Sure.
Mike was out today, but his staff and office is here in his stead. So it was, as you recall, pretty well received last time. We talked about, and again, Dan Ojala from Downkeep Engineering, we had talked about the site and the layout. You guys had a couple of questions about lighting and some of the, you wanted to see a little bit more detail of the cornices and overhangs and things of that nature. So with that in mind, we put in a supplemental, the following week, a supplemental package, which looks at a lot of the details. We get the windows with the head molding, trim details, a typical unit. So you get the lights on the top, open on the bottom, a rendering of that. You've got, I'm sure you've all looked at these, but there's a typical window paired unit there. You've got the site lighting fixture, and again, the site was on the site plan before, but we've highlighted them here, all the little lights that were
There's actually an updated version.
around the
with
site.
Different lighting.
Okay, so we could get the updated lighting, but that's obviously pretty close to historic. Do you guys have a
Yeah.
disc of that, or?
Yeah, it's on our flash.
Okay, so we could pick that up, but just so we'll circle back to that.
In the
But
packet, too.
Even rake details We've got a rendering of the west parcel with the street number there. Nice design detail. We instead of those god-awful ramps, we come in at grade, much better detail, and you go up and down steps, and then there's a double-sided elevator to go up and down. You walk in one side, go up half a floor, walk out the other side. That's how they handle that. So it works very nicely. Get rid of all those big kind of unsightly ramps that were plaguing the design before, and there's some nice brackets and overhangs and gingerbread, as Mr. Bornstein says, to try and make the outside look extra pretty. And you guys are welcome to go through this, but in any detail. But just to quickly go through some of the railings it was asked about. So we've got some choices on the rails, some of the fencing there with the slotted top, and that would be the typical view there. We've got wheeled barrels for the rubbish, wheel them out, and a couple times a week. Just School Street has got two lanes in the same direction, so we figure that a truck pulled there for a few minutes in the morning won't bother anybody because they can simply go right by them. So that was those details. And again, I would like to just quickly go over the fact that, there's a couple letters that came in that we want to just try and respond to a little bit. Here was the old Lewis Bay Motel and Marina. Dockside Inn is down here where they had the happy hour. But this is a double-story, kind of a 70s style motel. Years and years before that, there were a couple houses. They tore it down. They parked hard up against the back where there was a retaining wall and a double bay of parking out front, all at grade. Big surface parking lot, pool with a giant sign. So not particularly attractive in the not too distant past on that. And then we had handed this one in. This was the Dockside Inn. You can see the 2-foot-high letters from the harbor there, Lewis Bay Motel and Marina. So kind of a botel type of a situation with the pool out front. And a rather unsightly 2-story flat roof structure on the left. So, not a great history on the site. That was taken down. I think this one was from 1989 is when I took from the GIS map. So historically, it hasn't been a real gem. But we're hoping to improve that. And we've got a situation where you kind of look at the area. There's the one you were just looking at, 213 Ocean Street. They've got a couple of shrubs in the front, but there's nothing on the street. It's just all the way around is, hardly any vegetation. We're looking at when you do ours, we're going to have quite a bit of green around these. You've got the full 20-foot that's required in the front all the way around of greening it up, pulling it back, and it's even wider because the street is only about 22 feet out of a 33-foot layout, so you've got 5 or 6 feet of green on either side, plus the 20 feet of green, and then they'll be able to plant up the front, so it's hardly, a sea of asphalt anymore. The overall area, just for context, you've got the anchor in filling up their whole site, a couple little shrubs in the front. There is a residence next door with a few trees, but have historically been a pretty heavily developed site. And then you've got this vast, steamship authority terminal here. You've got the docks here. There's a little bit of green, and again, we're going to green up the strip. The full 50-foot buffer from the coastal bank onto our property will be greened up. So that's we feel a big improvement over what could be there, and even the last application was into the 50-foot. Now we're completely outside of it. So there are a few other sites. Here's the marina across the way there. You can see that there's very, very little in terms of landscaping. It's basically just packed full of boats and buildings and asphalt parking. There is, in fairness, a little strip along the street that is greened up on that, but it's not a particularly large area. And then, we looked at that one. I think there was one more here. So, yeah, there's just a view. That's not Mr. Bornstein's boat there. But that's the view across. You can see there's a couple of shrubs, but that's kind of the pot calling the kettle black there in terms of not much landscape. But what we're going to do is do the best that we can in terms of pulling in a greenscape all around the site. Nice belt. There's the 50-foot buffer fully revegetated in the front. Again, maybe 30 or so feet is on our side, but the rest is on Mr. Kirker's side. And then we've got 6 to 10 feet all the way around, and again, a full 20-foot buffer, trees. There's every 50 feet, there's a canopy tree, a small tree, 3 large shrubs, and I think 4 small shrubs all the way around the site. So really greening it up, and that's all the frontage. In the back, we've spruced it up with a few shrubs. The fire department does want to be able to walk around, so we kind of limit it around the sides and back. But I think it's a nice package. It's I think a big improvement from where we were last time. Again, we've gotten rid of all those big ramps and brought it down to grade a bit. And I'm sure we've hired a landscape architect to render and to work on, against the building to dial that up a little bit more. And if you folks would like to add on the lighting.
On South Street, do back that last picture.
Get the last, yeah.
Where are the garbage pickups on South?
So that's where it says rubbish right here. It's hidden into the front facade. We've kind of tucked in the barrels right there and right here. And so all you'd be looking at is a 6-foot fence, and we've just got the little wheeled barrels behind that and buttoned together. And we simply fill those with trash bags, and then at least a couple times a week they'll come by with a small truck and zip them out and off. And that's how we'll handle that. We had considered having them come down into the basement, but we don't really want to introduce it down there. I think we'd be better off to have them exterior, prevailing southwesterlies and so forth out to the street. So
The shrubs go up to the fence, and then it's...
yeah, you've got some trees in front to break it up, and the renderings probably show it pretty well. I don't know if we've got so that's the area there, but we're breaking it up with some trees out front in the landscape buffer.
And the utility poles are still going to be above ground?
Yeah, the plan is to leave them for now. Before, the buildings were much closer and, probably could have arced or whatnot. Now we're 20 feet back. I think we'll leave them. If everyone's very nice to Mr. Bornstein, he might consider doing something with it. But, for now, it's just kind of as of right, and we don't want to offer that at this point in time.
I have a couple questions and comments, but I always try to wait till last from the other commissioners. Anything else, or you want me to go ahead and you can think about if you have any other questions?
Especially on the lighting, the architect could expand on that if needed.
Okay.
Yeah, the package that you all have should show the correct updated lighting. We updated it since then to more of the onion style that is more in line with the historic guidelines for the town.
Before you started, I just wanted to remind people this is with regard to continued business with Stuart Bornstein Shoestring Properties, LLC, 110, 115 School Street. Please
Could-
go ahead.
Is there any lighting on the outside of the building, or like lamp posts that are going to be, what kind of lighting is going to be even down, what is that, School Street?
Yeah, it's on one of Dan's plans.
Yeah.
Lamp posts?
On the packet that you gave us, there's no lamp post pictures. It's just the lights on the building. So I think what Tom is looking for, and you had a picture there that we don't have.
This top.
Could you pull that? I know you have it on there because I saw it. Could you pull it on the screen if you don't mind?
So on the site plans, which you've had for a good bit of time, we did detail the symbol is just a simple little circle with the like a sunburst style symbol. So that's when they're pretty much near every walkway is how you find them. But those are the light poles there. They did, to your point, on the architectural circle them. I don't know if that was handed in or not, but they kind of highlighted them. But those are on the utilities plan, and that's on the rendered plan.
If you do me a favor, if you could pull up, there's a page on that sheet that you just showed us a little while ago with lights, and one of them was the actual posts themselves. We don't have that in the packet, so I'd just like to see the light posts themselves.
All right. So that would be.
Our thumb drive in there?
No, I don't. I've got my thumb drive, but we can put yours in.
Thumb drive.
I know that the supplemental, what we looked at was supplemental documents, and it's right here.
This is a outdated PDF.
Right. Did we have pole lights or just onion lights?
Yes,
They were on
the-
poles.
Yeah, why don't you grab whatever symbols you want to pop them on the desktop, and then I'll put the architects in.
Do they match the newel post style that's in the packet?
Yes.
But just larger?
This top image
Goes on
is the
that.
post, and then there's just like the post below it, but that would be the top of the light that's on the
Are
post.
they spaced around? Because School Street, that's going to be very dark. you know.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're kind of highlighted on this plan,
There's another one there.
in there with the red circles.
So it's on HD 20.
Also don't want too many to have it light up like a,
That one or the other one?
you know what I mean? Like, yeah, exactly.
So where will I lost
Yes.
it.
Yeah, two of them.
Yeah, so this top image is the light that would be on top of the posts, and then on this plan has showing where they would be located. So it's mostly just near the egress paths.
Can you zoom in on it and just point them out a little bit?
To those
See the little
circles,
red
please?
dots?
Oh, so the red dots on here are the light posts?
Yes.
Share in from outside if you like.
His was outdated.
Okay.
Dan Ogelin's.
Gotcha.
There where the red circles are
Yes.
is where those posted lights are going to be. And are you still having the lights down, you
there's
said
another one way
marking the
down up there.
walkways, or are these the one marking the walkways?
The latter, these are the short, what are they, driveway style lights, not gigantic, just, but not bollards either, so they're kind of a mid-height. Are they 19-foot, or is that, or this is just the size of the thing is 19 inch?
Yeah, I think just this
Yeah.
top piece is the 19
So
inches.
they would probably be on the order of 8 or 9 feet high, I
Yeah.
think typical.
And they'll be at each of those red circles, and they will be on posts.
Yep,
When you put your hand down before, I thought, well, maybe that's just going to be the ground light.
right.
No, they're up overhead.
So it's overhead and ground light? I'm just trying to be clear, or these are the overhead?
Just post lights,
Okay,
and they'd
thank
be
you.
up overhead.
Thank you for clarifying.
They cast a little further than the smaller ones.
Do you think you need more down School Street? There seems to be like only 1, 2, 3.
It looks like, yeah, I agree with you on there, 3 more.
Yeah, we could certainly add a couple. I don't think there's any Cobra lights on those overhead poles, are there, Stuart? Or, I don't recall.
There's lights, the street lights, all the poles have street lights on them.
So
it lights up
there's
pretty
some
good
lighting
down
there, but we could certainly,
If
as a
we
condition.
find we need more lights, we'll put them in. This is,
Mainly the style and to get the, and to your point too, on the other walkway, we missed one by the S in School Street on the east side. We picked one up at the end of that walkway. We want to have a light at the end of each ramp and walkway. So on the updated site plan review set that's going through now, there's a light pole there.
Can I ask you to clarify for me what this is here?
It's all subsurface, so that's, just the utilities plan tends to show drainage and utilities, so that's all below grade. You won't see a thing except in the grass. There'll be a little manhole cover for each of those, just completely buried below grade, so nothing to see there at all.
I wasn't certain what those were. Thank you for clarifying. And the same with the circles at the top?
Yeah, all that is just subsurface drainage.
And one more quick thing, I know you have 2 different lights, wall-mounted lights. Are you going to use the top one there that matches what the posts look like? Is that your intention?
Yeah. The second one's just an alternate, but I think the idea is to use the first one.
Yeah, okay.
I may come back to you, Kevin, just to reiterate that if it goes to a motion.
Sure.
I'm trying to mark down the various things. Any other commissioners? I'll come back to the commissioners.
Just a point of information on the inside of the buildings. Are there any fireplaces and gas fireplaces?
we expect to put gas fireplaces in, yes.
And
These are homes for people that live. This is the only project that's going to be able to be owned by private buyers in Hyannis. Everything is rentals. This is the only thing that people can actually come in and be an owner of these units.
Okay.
And we're building them out to be homes with fireplaces.
I was just interested in, is it going to be like crown moldings and
It'll have,
kitchens,
yes,
fireplaces?
it'll have crown
All of
moldings.
them, all the units are going to have fireplaces, or certain units are going to have?
We're going to put fireplaces in every one of them.
Vent, probably, not anything with a big chimney, right? Yeah.
Development of this.
We're doing all of it, right?
Just to clarify, the Yachtsman has owners. Some of them rent them out, but there are year-round residents down there that are owned. And Commissioner Doherty, you actually live down there, do you not?
We have,
Yeah. What I mean is it has owners. It's not just renters. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so we want to remember fireplaces. It's going to be that first light that Kevin Matthews asked about. There would be 3 extra lights, possibly, on a proposal. You're the architect, Jack, but my proposal would suggest somewhere around here, and I think you said you had one somewhere around here. Is that about right?
Yeah. Probably 3 more, I would agree. And then plus the missing one, so 4 additional net.
Okay.
I brought up a question last time on the building on School Street. I asked her like what you thought of shutters on some of those, windows. It kind of softens the building.
That's out of my wheelhouse, but I don't know. I think the thought was it was pretty clean without them, but.
Yeah, we weren't looking to do shutters, It takes away from the look of the building. If you look at the architecture, which I look at immensely, it's just gorgeous. It really is.
No, the only place I thought it could be used is on the side of the buildings facing School Street, not any other area. I don't think it could show them, but.
One of these pictures does have shutters, so it does have a shutter in it, so I don't know.
Which was
I
that?
think I'm sure it's not a louver. There you go.
Second proposal right there.
I don't know, that needs clarification.
Yeah.
Is that?
This is just this photo's included just to show the trim on the
Oh,
top.
just the top of the trim? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not the actual. That area, like going right down. Yeah, you have a side view of these buildings. Do you have that anywhere?
It must be in here.
Yeah, it's in the package.
So the gable ends are up on the screen now.
We've done louvers shutters many times, but unless you really do, a true shutter, it kind of, because you don't have always, space to the side of the window to another trim.
State who you are, I think, for the camera.
So Dale Gienap from Gienap Architects.
You were starting to say something, Commissioner Doherty?
A picture of just
rendering
the side of the building going down School Street.
On School Street.
Okay.
You have that?
Yeah, there is
Oh,
one.
School Street. Oh. There would be, that would be in the full set. I don't know that we have those.
Just to look at, Tom?
No, there was a different one.
That should be on the thumb drive, I think.
You showed one. Oh, I've seen one. I think I know what you're commenting on, Tom.
It's a little bit laggy.
This side of the building. These are the 2 sides of the building that are facing School Street. And all these on the peaks, 1, 2, 3, 4 peaks. What's your opinion on shutters on that area?
I don't prefer them unless they really are, have a true hinge and look like a real shutter. And then you can't do them, on all of the windows, so I think
No,
they've got
I
to be
was
done.
just talking like these 4, these 4.
I understand that, but I'm saying I don't prefer them if you can't sort of be more uniform about it.
I like the idea of shutters, too. It gives it more warmth and character.
I do too. We did it, we did it on another building that we did, and it kind of softened the building.
I think with something that close to the water, though, we're just setting them up to have them ripped off every time there's a storm.
Right, big problem. Big problem.
No, not if you secure them. I had shutters on mine that was right on the water.
Yeah, you're a private residence, you're not, 54 units. That's a lot. That's a lot of security.
I was down at the Yachtsman.
I didn't know the Yachtsman had shutters.
We did it one time. I think they're all gone now. but
Did they blow off in a storm, Cheryl? I was waiting for
or at
that.
least not in the 10 years or so.
Did they come in for the amendment, is the question.
Right.
Before my time. I'm on the commission, can't tell you. But Commissioner Doherty's right, we did request it on with some of the others. I would like to see if we can do this particular side view if it's possible. Can you do that by any chance? I don't think it's possible in the ends.
I don't know, this set is acting wonky.
Is that hard to thumb?
Yeah, I don't know,
Maybe too many things open?
yeah. This is, this would have a direct side view.
There's all the windows.
So is this where you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the building. You just look at the gable parts, those 4 windows at the bottom, in the 4 sections.
It would be that area there.
Yes.
You
Well,
got
and
such a
on-
beautiful building there too, and you got those utility poles that would kind of ruin it for me.
Yeah, we'll certainly consider that. I think it would help the resale value, but we can't commit to that at this time, but we're thinking about it. Very hard.
Okay. Did you want to pursue the shutters?
It's up to the other commissioners, I think,
You wanted them down the side on those windows,
This one,
right?
yeah,
For the
I
character and to
thought, but,
soften it.
that's my opinion, I don't know how everybody else feels.
Be nice.
Shaking your head.
Yeah, be nice.
The other commissioners are blinking and one is frowning.
I'm honestly fine the way that it is now. If they want to add shutters, that's good too. But I do agree that, like Matt said, I think, you got some heavy winds that blow in that area, and those things could be flying everywhere. So I understand not having them. So I'm fine with it the way it is now.
Okay. Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
No,
That's Commissioner Hinckley.
It's a beautiful building. I'm just stuck on other things, not shutters right now.
Anything you wanted to bring up?
I'm just still stuck on 54 condos, up to 3 bedrooms, and where the cars are going to go. That's my problem.
The, just,
I work at Cape Cod Hospital.
oh, yeah. Always
And-
short of parking.
And I also leave at 3 o'clock where the traffic is out of control in that space.
It is.
It sometimes takes me 45 minutes just to get to the end of Main Street, where that other massive apartment building's going to be. So,
I used to also work for Cape Cod
right,
Healthcare,
it's
so I know
out of, the
exactly what
traffic
you're saying.
there's out of control.
And I
If you
designed the
don't-
parking for them, so
Did you?
we've done probably 2,000
And now we've
spaces
got
over
the
the
new
years.
thing going up, and I just have a
Yeah.
feeling you guys are all going to creep down into that part. Where are you going to go?
Well, look now, see, look at all these spaces.
You said one per,
No, well,
one per plate. one
It's
per-
required to have one per,
Right.
but we exceed that.
How- so how many
So I think we had 6 and 1 extra, and was it, I don't know.
71 total.
Yeah, 71, so, 20-something over. But,
You're giving me the
things
eyeball.
are changing, and
Well, we have the option of parking across the street by the month. There's parking available you can buy across the street year
Oh, in
round.
that
Yeah, right across.
$20 lot up the, right there?
Yeah, it's very reasonable, though.
But it's always packed.
it's a nice incentive for people to be efficient and not have too many automobiles. So it's a compact design, but, this is, walkable downtown, it's what we're trying to encourage. It fully meets zoning, and then some. So, this is what they do allow, and we've got excess beyond what's required, so.
And Main Street's quaint to me. I'm a Hinckley. I grew up here. My family was, it's supposed to be quaint. Like, the massiveness is just, and the amount of people in that one space is,
I would prefer for it to be a little smaller as well.
It's
but
getting
It is
there.
dense.
And if everybody pulls down buildings and starts building all these, we'll be a town full of these.
Well,
If we allow one or two, we'll have to allow many.
Didn't we already allow like 4 on
I
Main
know.
Street?
That's why I'm like,
2, and one's under.
right,
Yeah.
I know, I'm
we did the
starting
Cape
to.
Cod,
it
Mr.
keeps
Bornstein did the
happening, you
Times
know?
building. the Cape
Well,
Cod
we should have
Times.
nipped that in the
I
bud
know.
back in, November. You can't do that. You can't punish him because of something else
Right.
we approved.
Yeah, I didn't.
This
So-
commission approved.
Right.
But this isn't about previous, so
Yeah,
we
and
should not be bringing
it's
up.
zoning matters, but, you can certainly look at the size, but we have got the gable ends, and we're much, it's 2.5 stories, so it's a reasonable look. I think that it'll blend right in. You've got the greenery across the way that's higher, you've got, of course, the hospital's much higher, and I think at the end of the day, this is going to fit right in. And, if there's a cramp in the parking, then we won't be able to sell them as well, and, but people will make do. There's Ubers, there's taxis, there's walking, bicycles.
It is pretty.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot, it's
I
gorgeous.
agree.
I should point out
It's an
that
asset for the
the
town.
hospital is not in the historic district. It's not far out of it, but it is not in the historic
Right, yeah,
district.
we're the bookend, and the hotel that you looked at earlier on the either end, and,
Yeah.
yeah. this
They
is-
almost had to come before us. It was already drawn up, but then we found out they missed us by about 300 feet, something like that.
Was it the hospital or the?
It was
or the-
Mugar.
Oh, Mugar, yeah. Yeah, I think the line is right here at our lot line.
Yeah. So we do have some correspondence, and we have somebody I know that we need to acknowledge, but I wanted to point out that the hospital is not in our jurisdiction, so it's not really comparable. Anyone else? All right, so I'm going to reserve what I say.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On your HD2 sheet, your partial site plan, I'm fascinated by a part of the detail on the larger building up near South Street. There is, I guess on the upper third, there's an entire row of what appears to be doors. Little boxes with doors.
I think I missed that.
Right, well, that's for the, it's not this.
Oh, that's right. That's storage.
Yeah, I should check.
Oh, yeah, that's interior to the building, that's storage compartments, storage area.
But that's,
Well, there was
that's
the
inside,
wheelbarrows
You're asking about-
outside of the wheelbarrows.
inside the building?
No.
Are you talking about-
You're talking about all these little doors
Give me a
here.
chance to bring it up.
Yeah, so those are our wheeled barrels that we're talking about earlier. So instead of having a great big dumpster, you just simply have the nice little, Nauset style, where you open up the lid and it's a sealed rodent-proof container on wheels, and we double stack them. And that way, everybody can put a couple bags in, and then they put them out on the street and remove them. So that's how we're handling rubbish.
Gates in the fence.
So it's all the gates, so you can get wheel in and out easily. So that's,
So all the units have to walk their garbage to these areas?
yes, absolutely. Take the elevator down and walk out of the lobby into that little area, yep. But that gets it outside. We were thinking about doing a corral in the basement, because we are overparked, and we would be room for a compactor or something, but it's just not a good thing to have in a building.
Are they at ground level?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, right at grade.
It almost looks like there's more building going up toward South Street than where they are.
Well, that's why we kind of recessed them in and tucked them into that alcove. I think the architects did a good job with that. So instead of being prominent and out, they're kind of built into the building halfway.
Just to clarify for the public, is that on the water side or the,
It's on the street side,
That's
South
up-
Street.
Yeah, that's it.
okay, but the water side is this, okay.
Yeah, the water's down here, so, yeah, no rubbish blowing into the water.
Well, that was my concern, plus of
Seagulls,
course,
yeah.
people come in and want to see a quaint, characteristic town, and they see piles of trash,
Right.
but,
So that's trash bins.
Yeah, it's just wheeled barrels that they simply wheel them out and dump them into a small truck that'll come at least twice a week, and we'll fine tune that. We can't have rubbish building up, so as much as we need to, we'll whisk it away.
When people buy condominiums like this, and I guess they're not going to be cheap, right?
Hopefully not.
You're going to be very surprised how market They are. We hope to keep them, some of them below $600,000, not all, but we're building for the residents now. This is for Hyannis. It's not a,
People paying 600,000 and above, they're gonna have to walk their garbage. I know, at the Yachtsman, we have garbage pickup, you know, all week long. We don't walk our garbage to a dumpster, and again, $600,000 and up, these people are gonna have more than one car.
basically, I don't disagree with that analogy, but we're kind of lucky because there's parking lots diagonally across the way that rent out parking by the year. So if somebody had a second car, they could either rent it for the day, pay by the month for parking. And I don't mind telling you, on School Street, there's about 150 car parking. How legal it is, I don't know, but it's there. There's no shortage of parking out here. That I can.
Parking on School Street?
Off private parking. But right now, we're looking at, we figure we're comfortable with what we have for parking. And we're just complying with what the town says we have to do.
The town says, but, you know, you have, 54 apartments here and 600,000 above.
Not everybody's going to have a car. Not everybody's going to have a car. We figure 25% of the people will not have a car. We see that now on our properties in downtown. It's amazing how many people use Uber. Bicycles are unbelievable. We have storage racks in here for bicycles. That's a big deal.
I think that's a little unrealistic.
Tom, let me ask.
People have two cars, and if they're spending $600,000 above, I'm sure they have two cars. And if I was buying a place there, and I was told, okay, I have one parking spot, and I can go pay for another parking spot up the street, I don't know, I'd back off a little bit.
Then we won't sell it to them. I mean, it's not, that's their choice. It's their choice to make a decision what they want to do.
Currently at the Yachtsman, which is just really around the corner, how many people there have two cars?
Just about everybody.
That was my experience as well. I will say, in looking, there is parking nearby. There definitely is, but it's usually packed, and we have no control over that. Let's say they wanted to build a building there or something like that. It's already being used for other complexes, and it's a fair point.
I also am concerned about parking issues in the town in general. In this kind of situation, I think when you're going in, as long as you're telling people you have, with your apartment or condo, whatever you're calling it, you have one parking space, that's up to them. If they don't want to do that because they don't want to, they have two cars and they don't want to pay extra or they don't want to get rid of a car, then they don't buy it. I mean, it's, in this case, to me, it's the free market. Either they take it or they don't. But in general, I think the town has a parking issue. Hopefully we can deal with it one time or another.
I agree with you.
I still have a question about these trash bins. Sure. There's a second floor of the house above them, right?
Yeah, well,
Is that a tunnel under the second floor?
there's a vented deck above them, so, that's the situation there. You've got it's open above, and, there is a deck over them, but it's not watertight.
I see.
The deck is not watertight?
Well, what I mean is, probably not. It would depend on the exact detailing of it, but whether it drips through or they have a membrane, but all I'm saying is that that's open air.
How are you going to control that from other people? And another problem we have is other people using that dumpster.
The gate would have a push-button code on it. It's a problem down here, no question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, when you're rubbish, do you just leave it on the curb, or there's not a chute, is there?
Outside the apartment.
Outside the unit.
In a hallway or like exterior, like?
It's individual townhouses.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So you just put them on the step and they whisk it away.
Truck comes by.
Yeah, nice.
And there's also usually 2 or 3
These are so
dumpsters
hidden, they don't even know they're
along
rubbish.
Ocean Street.
That's a well done, yeah. These are so hidden, they don't even look like rubbish. Yes.
Those people on top are gonna look down.
Those are the cheap apartments up top. That's what I can afford.
They won't see into it. They'll see on the outside of it, but they won't be able to look into it.
How would they not be able to look into it?
Yeah.
Well, if they leaned over the edge and looked down at their feet, they would see it. There's no
If they
question.
want to see them.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They're gonna be looking right on the garbage.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. We might come back for a little awning or something, I don't know.
And the Yachtsman also has 3 dumpsters, or it used to, that was just on Ocean Street. They still have those big dumpsters, yeah. Okay. 0.6, staff, hospital. All right, I'm not going to sum it up yet, but I want to ask staff.
No, nothing further at this time. I do just want to remind that maybe public comment as well.
Oh, so actually, I'm going to go to. We have Mr. Lawler, Attorney Lawler here. Would you like to, instead of us reading?
Anybody, I mean, I will be speaking, but does anybody else want to, I can go right now if that's.
If you would, please, just simply. Oh, actually, I'm opening up public comment, but I wanted to make sure we acknowledged your correspondence and for you to speak, please.
Okay. May I speak now?
If you could sign in, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice of you to move over.
He's a very nice guy.
He's kept the other seat warm for you.
David Lawler on behalf of Dockside Marina. I do have a letter in the record, but I'm not going to have that read. I don't think it's fair to, almost like speaking twice, and I want to be respectful of the applicant and the rules. But to get into the situation, and many of the issues that I want to talk to, I think have been dealt with a little bit on the questions. But, you know, obviously this is not zoning, as indicated. It's historic. But under the historic guidelines, under your own guidelines, when this is new construction, it's 2 vacant lots. So you are allowed to deal with scale and proportion, and included with that is massing. And it's the size of the structure. And if you look at the structures, the 2 of them, they are pretty much on, the structures themselves pretty much cover all buildable land on the property. Because the greens, edging around it, that's all within the setback of the property and is unbuildable. And and there is green there, but the buildings themselves occupy approximately, in some extent, more than 75% of the lots. And if you look at the historic district, there's nothing around or anywhere where the building itself occupies so much and is so massive, it's there are buildings that high, but not that cover the entire lot. And when you look at that, you think, well, part of that, and the basis behind these historic districts is, well, part of that is what uses. And again, that's zoning, but it goes towards the scale and proportion would normally occur on the lot itself. And those uses are, one of the things is that I can't imagine I would find any commercial property that ever has trash pickup coming out of the front of the building on historic South Street. And open air, I wouldn't want to be having a cocktail on that deck above on a Sunday night in the summer, that's for sure. But that's not, it's just, and that's part of it. The pickup, if you look at it, on a Sunday night or a Monday morning on South Street on the 4th of July weekend or any time in the summer, I can't imagine that trash is going to be able to be contained in that particular area in these small baskets as indicated by the applicant. And because normally the historic nature of this neighborhood is that trash is hidden in the back of a property or the side or somewhere and not certainly displayed in the very front of historic South Street. That South Street's one of the most historic streets in all of Hyannis. So that from a standpoint of just that alone, but it's not just that use, but all the other uses that are historically maintained on a property, whether it's, kids playing or, being off leash with your dog on your own property. There's no place for that, and that goes to scale and proportion and the massing of the building. And that's certainly within your purview here, and we believe that it is such a massive buildings. And if you look at historically, they showed you the maps of the old hotel. I actually think the old hotel was kind of quaint and historic, but, and not an eyesore. But it burned down, and obviously that those things happen because it was an old wooden hotel. And what that had was a lot of open space. Now, some of it was parking, but again, it was consistent with the neighborhood. But when the hotel came down, there was a small restaurant there. Again, a lot of open space. Yes, quite a bit of it's asphalt, but it's also consistent with this neighborhood that, that they have this open space, again, to allow for the uses to be on the property themselves. And if the uses can't be on the property, where are they going to be? Well, trash pickup's going to be coming around, the trucks wheeling them out on Main Street, on South Street and School Street. You're going to have, there's no traditional space for large trucks. There's no traditional space for guest vehicles. There's no, and again, that all goes to the history, and that's what this board is charged with, is the historic component of it. I'm not going to get into, windows, 4 over 4 or 1.5 over whatever, and moldings and things like that. But in your guidelines, under that provision, under new construction, you are specifically tasked to look at how the scope or the scale and proportion. And think, I know some architects are sitting here, and we all know what scale and proportion is. Well, it's the scale and proportion as it deals with not only the neighborhood, but also the lot itself. And, with a little kind of emerald necklace around it, and these massive structures that are out of scale and out of proportion with the area. And I believe that, and one of the reasons you're allowed to look at it in scale and proportion is that it also then has the other detrimental effects that you're talking about, double parking, all those things that may be covered under zoning because you're not a zoning board. And then lastly, and just because this is permitted by zoning doesn't mean it's permitted by historic. It's almost like, akin to, okay, well, yeah, the building department's okay with it, but the conservation department's not. The conservation's okay with it, but Board of Health is not. You have different standards of review from and the applicant has tried to make it comport with zoning, and again, the entire structure is, located within the, in the framework of the buildable portion of this lot. I don't know what, if you took out on that 75%, if you took out the buffer zones and the conservation area that's not buildable, I'm not sure you'd have 5%. But I'm just guessing. I don't know. I didn't run the numbers. So that's where we're at on this project. And I want to be very clear that it's just too massive of a structure for the lot, and that is clearly within your jurisdiction as as the downtown historic, watch guards, and it was it is a historic, area, and that's what you're here for. And thank you very much.
Can I rebut that?
As a member of the public speaking in public comment, yes.
I'm done.
I wanted to say thank you very much. But okay, and I'm going to read a correspondence that we have as well.
Can I speak?
You may speak.
Yeah,
in public
Stu
comment,
Bornstein, developer. Mr. Trini Lauer represents the marina. If you go down there at any time, they got a big dumpster totally overflowing, 20 hours a day. Bags of garbage, beer cans, during the day, during the night. So he's the last one to talk about our refuse gets picked up on a regular basis. Each one's in a sealed drum to keep everybody out of it for odors and smells. But we built this with what the town says we're allowed to build. At great expense, they created what you got to build and stay in these setbacks. You got the Captain's Village up the street from me. You got Main Street just approved, the old TD North yet to be built, and there's 3 or 4 more that are up. We are not doing anything that has not been approved by the Historical Board 3 or 4 times already. And we've taken this another step. We made this a good-looking building. We could have put another 8 or 9 units on this building, and we had the parking to do it. But we wanted to keep a nice look on this, and if you look at it, the lines are good. It's not crowded. It's 2.5 stories. It's below the 35 feet. We did everything that the town says we're allowed to do, and we kept everything historical the way the board wanted. We had a lot of conversations and at great expense, at great pain, and God knows these guys, Dale and his people, we spent, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of hours to bring this out the way you guys requested it. We are following the guidelines that you raised in this town of what we're allowed to build, and that's what we did. He can come in and say what he likes about it. He's only here because he's getting paid. Okay, remember that. And he's here to do what he's got to do. He's done this for 3 years, stopping everything we're trying to do because they're worried that their boatyard is going to get crowded out. They overpark it. You got to take a look down. They overpark it with about 20 more cars. It's full of garbage. It's got more boats. And we're building what is allowed by law. And you good people have told us what you wanted to see. Last week or last meeting we had, you said, we'd approve this right here. We just want to see some trim pieces. We went, we gave you all the trim pieces so you can understand what we did. I hope we did them right. And if there's things you don't like about them, we'll change them around how you like them. But this is a beautiful piece of architecture for downtown. I mean, there isn't another thing that's going to look this great downtown approved. This is gorgeous. It truly is. We really went out of the way to make it gorgeous and feel good. And these are, again, everything else being built downtown is for rent. This here are for sale for people to live here year-round, to own it. The nurses, the doctors, the post people, the teachers, these are people that want to buy in there. Here's an opportunity.
I would add, too, that's a great point, Stuart, that where the height is only 33.6, 34.7. It's 35 feet above the finished grade. They're not massive towers. We're allowed 90% lot coverage in this district. We're only at 63%, 64% coverage, so there's a lot of green on here. And the parking, you know, I did the arithmetic on them. You got 11 extra on one, 6 on the other, so 17 out of 54 is about 31% of them. 30% have 2 cars, so it's not bad. And then the other 70%, if they're not single people or one-car families, they might not choose to purchase it, you know, or they'd have to go off-site. But for a good proportion, there is enough, and we feel the market will take care of itself, and but we think it'll be a good project for the town. We've got all the trim, all the appurtenances, all the lovely things that you like to see, and we think they'll blend in very nicely with the district, and would hopefully get a positive review.
I would just like to make a comment that, you know, the letter and the statements that Mr. Lawler made imply their, you know, size, proportion, and scale are synonymous. And 5,000 years of architectural design and urban planning is that they are not synonymous. Scale and proportion refers to the character of a building, how it relates to human scale, the size of its components, etc. Size is another matter. And we could, you know, I won't go off the rails too far, but we could talk about a lot of buildings that are very, 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 very large, but still have scale and proportion that people feel is appropriate and are historically correct. And I think it's, I can't speak to the legal definition. I have my suspicions that there is a legal side that supports my position, but I would say from, you know, an architectural and a planning side, they are not synonymous terms that should be confused.
Yeah, and the roof and ridge lines, it looks like a village from a distance, you know. It's a nice, I think, a very attractive design as you're looking up. You know, you almost could mistake it for a cluster of little buildings. They did a great job with that.
Remember that slide, because I'm going to bring you back to it, but I didn't see a number on it.
I think it's 10. The renderings are at the end of the document.
Okay. So I am going to go to Jim in a second. Just to remind the board, or the commissioners, sorry, and I'm going to go to Jim, and then I'm going to go to, actually, I'll go to this letter, then to Jim. We are not zoning. Attorney Lawler is absolutely right with that. We are not zoning. That's why I read the purview out to begin with. So I know it said you've had 2 to 4 that have already been approved. They're in different areas. They're not along the water. Yes, Attorney Lawler, I'm sure, is getting paid because he's hired by another individual, from my understanding. But other people are also being paid here. So all we can all do is just, our best to, do our best and maintain what we're supposed to do. And also, it's not about the marina. This is about this project. We're not making any determinations on the marina. That the marina being put in predates all of us serving on a commission. And for whatever reason, that's there, that's there. So I just wanted to point out those things. And as for comparison to something that is very, very, very large, if it's very, very, very large in comparison, then it's not still not in the historic district, or at least not in this historic district. So what we're trying to do is to abide by our purview. Jim, I'm going to let you go next, and I'm going to also mention something about, I think it's 11224, which it refers to the part of our guidelines, which is what we do cover. Aside from the character and everything else, it gives more specs, which has come up with regard to size and density.
Yeah, I'm happy to go over that if you like.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
And also any of your comments, please.
Yep. So it's 11232, I believe, is what you're referencing in terms of new construction and the criteria for determinations. Excuse me. So I'll just read it aloud. So in the case of new construction or additions to existing buildings or structures, the commission shall consider the appropriateness of the size, shape, and location of the building or structure, both in the relation to the land area upon which the building or structure is situated, and to the buildings and structures in general setting in the vicinity. So that's the general criteria. Then you go to your next step, which is highlighted in the staff report, page 20 of the design guidelines that are your supplemental guidelines that you look at each and every meeting. And for the new construction, again, it talks about building form, which includes building spacing, scale, and proportion, as the applicant was mentioning, massing, relation of the building to the street, and its roof form. So those are kind of the general buckets. And then obviously throughout the guidelines, you look into the details. So as you guys were mentioning, the different lighting specs that are interesting to this commission, the siding styles that are preferable, et cetera, in terms of details. But in terms of big picture new construction, building spacing, scale, and proportion, massing, relation to the building to the street, and roof forms, as you all discussed kind of in detail at that last meeting. I have nothing further to report other than happy to answer any questions from the design guidelines standpoint if anybody has questions.
Just to clarify, and it looks like you have a question, Commissioner Matthews.
I did, but please, if you want to go
I just
first.
want to clarify that the 112 was what was when we had the joint meeting with planning. They adopted that into the new changes that they made. So that is also part of theirs. Is that correct?
Right, so Chapter 112 is the ordinance that creates this commission and its purpose and criteria. So yes, it refers, when planning board was looking at updating their design guidelines, the discussion was creating synergy between this commission and the board by adopting some language in those guidelines that referred back to them.
Okay,
Yes.
just wanted to clarify that. Anything else? Commissioner Matthews?
Just a quick question, just a clarification. So listening to both Mr.
Ojala.
Listening to Mr. Ojala talk, Mr. Lawler talk, I'm hearing two different things, and I want to make sure what's right is right. Mr. Ojala said they're only using 63% of the lot for the building.
Yes.
My impression from Mr. Lawler was that was way off. They were using a much larger scale of that lot. Can you tell me from what they've presented to you what is correct on that?
Right. So it's stated on the site plans. So the difference between the two discussion points, I would say, is Attorney Lawler is referring to removing the zoning requirements, so the setbacks that are required in the zoning, and any other stipulations. So Mr. Lawler is referring to that if you deducted that.
Okay.
However, the site itself, on the site plan, I believe it is 63% for one of the sites, and the other site is slightly larger. And so that includes that green space that is between the road and the setback requirement. So all that green space in there, that's included in that number.
Good question, too. How much space is between the water, that marshy area? Is that a huge amount of space?
Between the water and this property?
But they said there was
there's
like
a property in between the two. I don't have the...
The
green space area.
Non-buildable.
Oh, the conservation land, perhaps?
Conservation
Yes.
land.
So actually,
You
it's
can't
shown.
build there.
Yep, exactly right. So there, on that site plan is shown in the dot. I don't know, Dan,
Those
if you
dots
could.
there.
Yep.
So, yeah, right now.
That's non-buildable.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Mr. Kirker actually has a building proposed and approved in this area here. That's under his SC 3958, if you want to look it up. But it's a large bathhouse and you know, I mean, maybe arguably a little bit marine related, which sometimes you get some concessions for that if it's a bathroom for the boats or whatnot. But we're full 50 feet from that state coastal bank, and it'd be more like 100 from the water. And there's currently still some deck that we didn't quite yet demolish, just kind of grandfathering some footprint in this area. We're completely removing all that hardscape and pavement from the 50-foot buffer. And I think Jim explained it very well. But one of the things, too, to remember on this is, I know you guys are historic, and I don't know how historic automobiles are, but we're hiding all the automobiles from view. So it's a nice, clean, architectural look. You're not looking at the front grille of an Eldorado. You're looking at landscaping, and everybody hides down underneath there. It's very expensive to build it that way, but that's what we've chosen to do, is to hide all the cars from view and just landscape and pretty it up. So this, I think, will be, at the end of the day, one of the more attractive buildings where you're not looking at a big parking lot. Even across the street, it's a nice building, but there's just a sea of parking in front, all hidden. I think that's couldn't be understated enough that by hiding all that parking, it really speaks to what you guys are looking for, which is an attractive-looking building, not the front grills of a bunch of automobiles.
And you can get more condos in if you don't have a huge parking lot taking up space.
Well, you know, one way to do this would be to do at-grade parking in a building on one lot, but, you know, that's not, he's chosen to spend a little bit more money and hide all the parking. So it's just a give and take with the expense versus the number of units.
So if it's 63% of one lot and a larger amount of the other lot, do you have that figure for the other lot, please?
I do. It's 64%. 64.3, I believe. I'll get the exact number.
It's displayed on the site plan.
Yeah, the new 63.2 on the east and 64.5 on the west. Those are the exact numbers.
Okay.
And the heights are, instead of 35, the west is 34.7 and the east is 33.6. And the roof lines are nice and varied.
I have some clarity for you, Jim. Is there confusion here about whether this is a commercial building in a residential zone, or is this a commercial zone or an industrial zone? What are we building in this area?
Yeah, so I think your mind's probably going to building code right away, because I know you're in the industry. This is multifamily, so that's that use category that it would fall under. So multifamily residential, and that's allowed in the Harbor District.
Okay,
yes.
so we can't expect Mr. Bornstein to try and build a large residential community if it was an industrial zone. But if he can build this in a residential, this is a multi-family residential unit?
Correct, that would be the use category. So we have single, two-family, multifamily, are the uses.
So
for
is there,
residential.
as long as there is no zoning about density and how many families, is there any regulation that says that you can only put so many people on this, or I'm just trying to get some clarity for a lot of people here.
Yep. So again, that does refer back to zoning, and what the zoning states is that it's the kind of the limiting factor. There's a number of limiting factors. We talk about lot coverage that kind of starts to pinch you in. We talk about setbacks that kind of create that box, and then there's the parking requirement of 1 per unit. So if you can work in that box, and then you can develop out X amount of parking spaces, that kind of backs you into a number of maximum units that could be created. And so as the applicant was stating, they have, I forget offhand, 70-something parking spaces overall. So technically, if, they could design that out in a building, they could have that amount of units. However, that's that maximum number that they could have, and they could have anything less than that. Again, you're in that box, and then that other limiting factor, of course, is height. So we're talking about the 2.5 stories.
Well, he's accommodated the height.
Right.
Well, I guess we're in urban residential. The lots can be as small as 50 by 70. They can be pretty small. With the anticipation, there's going to be one house on it. And you could maybe do a 3-story house with 3 apartments, and that's the end of it. So there is a proportion ratio in urban lot usage. And I can see where there's a lot of confusion here with parking and traffic and all of that sort of thing. And I'm just trying to get some real clarity as far as, are we asking to approve something that down the road is going to be a real problem? Or is there no, I'm not interested in breaking the law or asking him to break the law. I think the architecture on this is fabulous. I find not a thing wrong with this thing, and the effort to meet the moldings and the lighting and all of that. I appreciate the fact that he really put his heart into a huge project and reduced it to this is noteworthy. I'm just trying to get clarity for all of us as to how this, if he has the ability to do this, then I don't know how our decision plays into it.
Well, you have a strict set of criteria that you are to render an appropriate decision for the district. So you are the representatives for the historic district here in downtown Hyannis. So yes, there is strict ordinances of that box that is created, and that box is something that is created through the zoning ordinance, and that is by right potentially. And if it's not by right, there's stipulations as to who that authority is to potentially grant relief to it. So whether that's planning board or zoning board or site plan review. Aside from that, the next step, and anywhere in this district, if it meets the bylaws, it then goes to you guys. And this commission is strictly told or defined by Chapter 112 to determine whether it meets your guidelines. And you sifting through those guidelines, yes, there could be other aspects that, it's natural to think back and say, I work nearby, or I live nearby, or I commute by here, and there's a known challenge to the neighborhood, perhaps. But your task here is new construction and the design of that and how that sits into the neighborhood in terms of the design. So again, I know these are very broad, and that's why there's a very active effort to make it more refined. But right now, these are broad. So working through these, we're looking at the scale and proportion of the building. While it meets the zoning ordinance, it is true that you as the commission can look at it and with some more nuance in terms of the design and how it relates to the neighborhood. The scale and proportion, the massing, the relation to the street, it's as the applicant said, the human scale that could be created through a design, and the roof forms. I mean, historically, our supplemental guidelines, while broad, actually have some great images of our history here and the different roof forms that have been created over time. So using all of this to try and make a more aesthetically pleasing and proportionate project is the task of this commission. So I completely understand the challenges that are before you, that there are other dynamics such as, maybe parking challenges in greater Hyannis or rush hour is a pain, but that's a different discussion, I would say. Hopefully that answers you a little bit.
So is there a discussion about a place that we already approved, huge, on the corner over there?
We don't mention specific.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's
So, a tiny, more green space. You approve more green space, but a place has less green space, so that's more massing. So we could decide the size of the building and how much green space it leaves.
Yeah. So
that's in our purview.
Well, the green space can be an aspect of it, but you are
how much the place takes up on the lot.
Right. So that's the key. So the green space is kind of the after effect, right? The aftermath of that scale and proportion on the site.
The acreage that they're using,
right,
as opposed to other where they maybe build something smaller to leave more open space.
Right, and so you're looking at your district, at your neighborhood, and saying and comparing and contrasting, seeing how it relates in its forms all around, and the applicant has shown some images of the surrounding area. I think most of us know that area pretty well. So you could certainly look at the scale and proportion and see if there's any ways to improve upon. Absolutely.
Commissioner Hinckley-Needham, Jim is absolutely correct, but the other ones that you're referring to were not on the waterfront either. So it is the overall character and historical nature and all that stuff that I read, and I'm happy to read it out again or pass it around. That's why sometimes when there's things that are a bit vague, I will bring it with me and read it out just to remind people. So I'm going to read a letter email, that was sent to us by, in correspondence because it pertains to this property. I almost forgot. Dear Chairman Powell, by the way, this is from Mr. Wayne Kirker in an adjoining abutting property.
Everybody already has it. I don't think it's necessary to read it in.
I think it is because we read correspondence into the record. I wouldn't want to suddenly not read one when we always do.
Yeah,
but thank you for your comment.
You don't read the nice letters into comment. You only read the negative ones.
We read all of them, all the time. All the correspondence gets read. All the time. Is there any exception where I didn't? Dear Chairman Powell, 1, I am unable to attend the meeting relative to Mr. Bornstein's dockside condominium proposal on February 7th because I will be out of town. Please read this out loud in the meeting, and also please share the photos with the other commissioners. Oh, that reminds me. Photos. Jack? Oh, do you all have them? Anyone not have them?
Yeah, I have copies.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Please read out this out loud and also share the photos with the other commissioners. 2, although Mr. Bornstein says that he is in compliance with zoning, which may be true, I don't see how the project can possibly satisfy the HHDC's obligation to ensure that projects are not detrimental to the historic density and character of the neighborhood. 3, virtually no visitors, including the condo's owners' guests, will be able to park their vehicles underground. This includes vehicles from Amazon, FedEx, UPS, service people, and all others with tall vehicles due to their height. There is no outdoor space or any other space on the property to park. Even the condo owners with a second vehicle will have to park out in the street. Presently, there is No on-street parking by anybody on South Street, School Street, or anywhere on this neighborhood. The reason Mr. Bornstein's project will require so much on-street parking is because this project is too dense. Specifically, there is virtually no outdoor space on this site for any type of parking or for human activity. The project is simply too dense, which is definitely not in the character with the neighborhood. The other properties in this area have outdoor space to accommodate their needs. 5, the street that they park illegally on will be South Street or School Street, which will not be occasional. This will occur hourly. Furthermore, Mr. Bornstein's plan shows the trash pickup being accessed on the South Street sides of both buildings, which means that the garbage trucks will have to park on South Street. The drivers will then wheel 2 trash barrels per condo out into the truck and back for each condominium unit. Presently, there's no parking on South Street because it is simply not wide enough to allow for any street parking necessary. 6, almost every household has more than one vehicle. Therefore, the owner's additional vehicles and all guests will have to park on School Street, which comes to an end on the harbor. When they enter School Street, they will be headed downhill towards the harbor, so they will only be able to park in that direction because School Street is too steep and narrow, 23 feet high, to make a U-turn. Therefore, only the drivers exiting the underground parking intending to go right up to South Street will be able to do so. All those parked in the street will have no choice but to drive downhill and attempt to turn around where the street flattens out. South Street is an emergency access route for the Cape Cod Hospital. School Street is an emergency access route for many maritime emergencies and is too narrow to park on because of the regulation to have 2 10-foot lanes. 7, traffic jams already exist daily at the bottom of School Street because it is a dead end, and people trying to turn around have to make at least one 3-point turn, and I have been observing this for years. Therefore, I object to Mr. Bornstein's proposal because it will be unbearable to watch it exacerbate this problem terribly. A developer trying to maximize his profits at the cost of severely derogating the character of the neighborhood should be denied a permit. 8, FYI, there are 2 fireboats and a police boat docked at the bottom of School Street, which the PD and FD attend to multiple times daily. Attached are a few photos of extreme congestion when they are called upon at the same time. 9, it is imperative that vehicles associated with the proposed condominiums are able to drive up School Street to access South Street when departing and not be forced down the hill, causing continuous log jams. This can only be done if vehicles can turn around in a parking lot on the developer's site and drive up School Street towards South Street. 10, this type of density works on Main Street because there are multiple municipal parking lots and street parking on both sides of Main Street, but this won't work on South or School Street and will be worse if South Street goes 2 ways. 11, FYI, Mr. Bornstein refers to the height of buildings at Hyannis Marina, but he fails to mention that those buildings were built in 1938 and 1994, before the HHDC existed. I have to bring that up. The project needs to be reduced so that there is enough outdoor space on the property for his condo owners to utilize and to eliminate the need to park on that street. 13, please deny this project until it is redesigned in a way that will not shatter the character in the neighborhood due to its density. Respectfully, Wayne Kirker, Dockside Marina and Company. Just to clarify there, that he is correct that it's before the HHDC existed. The HHDC, which has purview over that and with this charge, began in 1996. Can't tell you what month. I think it was autumn, but I did check. It began in 1996. So that is, we have now officially read into the record. Mr. Bornstein, do you have something to say?
Yeah, would you explain it a little better?
I'd just like to have a point of clarification because we're trying to do a building that complies with the town's request. So you made the comment that...
I just read this. I didn't make... You're talking this. Okay.
That the marina didn't... The context of the marina didn't matter. We weren't talking about the marina.
Yeah.
But we're talking about whether this is appropriate to the context. So the marina is part of the context, but you seem to be discounting that doesn't contribute to the character. So does the parking lot of the ferry terminal, does that weigh into the context? I mean, I'm just trying to understand. It seems that somehow the size of the project, not the scale, but the size is a point of contention, but the size is not, different than these other large parking facilities and other buildings that are in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to understand, if the marina, which has very large buildings, both scale and size, but doesn't count, then which buildings are we counting?
We're counting the one that you're proposing to build. That's what we're here to determine on. We are not here to determine if the marina should have been built back in 1918, whatever, 80 something, or 1994.
In 2024, you are using the context to determine if this building is appropriate. But you are discounting or not allowing to contribute to that evaluation some of those larger buildings. So what are we comparing it to then?
Well, we all,
Not comparing it to things out of the zone or things that were before the committee was formed.
for us to say on that. But quite frankly, if the marina and those buildings came before us on one of the times, I think we'd be making some comments there as well.
With all due respect, I'm finding a hard time accepting whether it occurred before or after Historic Commission existed. It is the context today.
It is there today, but we are not here to judge the marina or Mugar, which isn't even in the historic district, which has been mentioned.
You're determining if this building is appropriate to the context, and all of those things weigh into the context.
Well, we're determining if it meets the historic character, nature, and everything else. I can read the purview for you. I don't think the word context is in there. But to all the things that are with it, we have to stick strictly to our purview.
Yes, and I'm pushing that. So, okay, I've made my point.
I respect that. I'm sorry.
I just didn't want you to close public comment before I had a chance, but I don't mean to interrupt. I thought you were through.
The only comment I have is nobody lives in the buildings in the marina. They're in there, they're huge because they put big boats in them. This is a residential project. I have no problem with your project or with the architecture of it.
Do you need us
But
to-
we've got a big empty building full of boats. But this has got humans in it day and night and all of that.
No, I understand, but that's sort of apart from the size of the building.
Got it. Yeah, I got it.
And the marina is a busy place. They've got a couple of restaurants in there and a ton of use and parking. It's a very, very busy area. And the project that you had before us was the Hyannis Harbor Motel, the multi-level, just on the other side. And as I said in the original one, we're kind of the bookends because we're on either end of the district. We're down to 2.5 stories, so we're well under where they are now. And, it's well under what's allowed by code. We're hiding all the parking, spending a lot of money on gingerbread and making it look very attractive. And we feel the site plan review and the folks over there will do a very nice job vetting it for parking and stormwater. And conservation has already signed off. We do have to go back for an amended order, but we're making it, shorter and pulling it back. So I think that will be basically a shoe-in. That's another, very important permit, and I think you'll find that they will also approve this one as their own specific entity board.
Who is that? You said
Conservation, yeah,
You
Darcy
said they'd
Carl.
already signed off.
Correct. We have an open order conditions for a bigger building, like the one that you guys denied. They approved that. So now we're compressing it and pulling it back. So I think it's pretty. I wouldn't speak for them, but I think we'll have a pretty easy time getting this amended.
So you have it for a previous one, but not for this yet.
Correct. The one that's absolutely correct. We have not refiled with Conservation, and as part of site plan review, they mentioned that, yes, we will need to go back for an amended order and check that box.
Okay. Commissioner Doherty, it looks like, okay.
Can I say one quick thing? I'm sorry. I just...
Commissioner Matthews.
So, and I'm speaking from one person, from one commissioner. I think to me, I hear almost like kindergarten, first grade. Yeah, but he could do that. He could do that. He could. I think that's the thing that is a bit of a hindrance. I think, at least for me, when I look at this project, I'm looking at that the new building must complement adjacent and surrounding buildings in that whole area. So in my interpretation, I'm thinking about the marina. I'm thinking about the hospital. I'm thinking about the condos. I'm thinking about Anchor Inn, because that's all in that area, whether they were built in the 40s, the 20s, or the 70s. That's not what it says. It says complement adjacent and surrounding buildings. So when I'm thinking of this project, me personally at least, that's what I'm thinking. So that's my interpretation of that kind of situation.
Thank you, and I agree with you. I'm going to, the gentleman over here had asked if he could speak, and as part of public comment. Is that right? We'll open that up. I would ask that you sign in and then state your name for us, so we know who we're listening to. It's over there.
Chuck Carey, innocent bystander, property owner. Right above where that map is, right there. I grew up here. I got a business on Main Street for several decades, and I support the project. It's a beautiful building. And I think it truly embodies the phrase complements the area. And boy, that area needs a lot of complimenting. East end of Hyannis, it's not like it was years ago. And I'm not even a Hinckley. It's a beautiful building. We need more buildings with more of those kind of people that are going to support the town, that are going to pay all the gigantic real estate taxes that the fire district of Hyannis jacked up all the properties in that area. As you may or may not know, it's none of your concern officially here, but you know they have a 150% higher tax in that area because there's so much trouble there. We need more people that are going to help pay that, not people that are soaking up all the resources, you know. These people that are going to buy that, and by the way, they're not really rich people. 600 is done. I'm directing this to you if you don't mind, sir. 600 is just barely above the median house price.
Starting at 600.
Sorry?
Starting at 600, right? What is the top price range of these?
We haven't got there yet with our costs, but we could be approaching 800, 900. But these are big, but these are 2 and 3 bedroom, they're houses.
Like
They're
the
not
Yachtsman
small.
people?
They're cheaper than buying a house down here.
Like the people that live at the Yachtsman, they're going to be...
$600 to $800,000 is a considerable amount of money to pay for a building.
Oh, condo, yeah.
That's the
For a
point.
condo. When you have to walk your garbage out to the onto Main Street and have maybe 1.5 car parking.
I walk my garbage from the house up to my building and put it in the dumpster every morning, so I can't identify with that, but may I go on?
Certainly.
Okay. The people that are going to be supplying the resources that this town badly needs, not soaking it up, are going to be living in that building. But I really just had a quick question, if you don't mind if I direct it to you. It's a very interesting discussion about size, because I would ask this board if you all are able to supersede what the size allowances in zoning are. Can you push zoning size allowances aside and make up your own?
I think I can even answer that, and correct me if I'm wrong. And that is, we don't deal with zoning. We have our own purview, and it doesn't say anything with regard to zoning. I read the purview. We're happy to get you a copy. So we don't determine zoning.
So you're not restricted by zoning in the town. You're out of zoning control.
Totally out of zoning. We listen to it, but at the same time, we do not determine zoning. Is there
I'll leave
anything
that
Jim would
question
like
with
to
you.
add to that?
I think some lawyer ought to talk about that question, actually.
No,
Oh, by the way,
More public.
Cecilia's your daughter, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's a wonderful, lovely young lady. And we had I had the pleasure to get to know her, and we had the pleasure to have her on the HHDC for a short time. She's a wonderful person, and I understand she's a fantastic realtor. A wonderful person. Please give her my regards. Anyone else? You two decide.
Sure. Yeah.
You're closer to the chair.
No, that's all right. Arm wrestle. We'll see who wins.
I could flip a coin.
My name's Paul Neary. I live in Centerville. I sign in here, right?
Here.
Over here? Great. I appreciate everything you all go through and do. The comments I'd like to make are a little bit outside the scope of what we're looking at here. In 1991, I purchased a building on School Street, remodeled it. And my dad was a dentist in town, long-standing dentist in town, and he operated a dental practice out of that building. I happen to abut the wonderful green, I don't even know what I want to call it, the green swamp of the Cascade Motor Lodge that's been there ad nauseum for decades, okay? I remodeled that building, went through it, gutted the place, remodeled the whole building. That was in 1992. How much improvement has gone on School Street since 1992? I can tell you what I see. I see needles, trash, garments, undergarments in my yard, various drug paraphernalia that I pull off the front steps every day. The east end of Hyannis has been dying for decades. It's an overlooked part of town. I have an acquaintance of mine who is the only person that I can say that has done any form of remodel or rehabilitation on that street, and that's 66 School Street, which is right next to the granary down the end. Bought Dr. Tratt's old building, did a marvelous job remodeling it. I know for a fact he was under the impression that east end of Hyannis is coming, it's finally gonna come. And we have this beautiful piece of property. I've watched you all just grind through, I think it's 6 iterations of this thing. It's got to go back to 17 when I saw the first one. And I understand what you're up against. You've got zoning, and this historic committee, I believe, you do the groundwork to make sure what comes out of the building process is pretty and looks good. And I got to be honest, I preferred the prior one. But I get it. It's 4.5 stories. It doesn't fit. I really did, because I thought that was like marvelous. We could actually become, especially in that harbor, a Mystic, Connecticut, or a Newport, or a destination place. I've heard quaint. Quaint is a wonderful word. I see quaint all the time. My next door neighbor on School Street has 2x6s holding up her front porch for a year. For a year, okay? I get it. What I can tell you is that part of town is in desperate need for some development. Years ago, I'm in the business, and in the old days, men would wear shiny shoes, right? You're like a salesperson would shine up his shoes, and you always had that habit. You'd be like, you didn't mean, but you go, wow, look at the shoes. And then you go, oh my God, look at mine. Like, I got to fix my shoes, right? I got to clean myself up. I think if we can, if the visual of the project fits, it's awful good looking. I mean, it's a good looking project. Then maybe other people will go, you know what? My shoes look like garbage, and it's time to clean that up too. And really, that's what that part of town is desperately in need of. I mean, I know we don't have any control of what goes on at the hospital. That building that's going up there, oh my God, like it blocks out the sun, right? Mm-hmm. But we don't have any control over that. Yeah. My opinion, and I don't know whether it's even in your purview, but what's going on in Pleasant Street, I still can't figure that out. That's been going on for 3 years now, right? And that, I can't say compared to this project, but again, let's not talk about other projects. We're talking about this project, right? We have to stay on that. So that's my opinion. I know Wayne Kirker. I like Wayne Kirker. I consider ourselves friendly with him. But I hear about the parking at the end of that's a different property. That's his property. His property is where the turnaround is the problem. And then the other thing is, there is no parking on School Street. It's not wide enough, but Amazon trucks still come. They'll park on that road for 10, 15, a minute and a half, and they'll deliver their stuff and they'll go. So I know that you're under duress, and you want to try to, let's just say, we hope that the absolute best fitting, most wonderful, best looking check all the boxes building will come to bear. But I mean, it's like, this is the 6th iteration of this thing, and I don't know. I mean, it seems to fit. And I know the parking is an issue. I have an issue because of some of the things I'm involved with here in town with the one-on-one, and I get it, but it is more than one-on-one now. And you know what? If someone, my opinion, doesn't want to buy it, then buy somewhere else, okay? So, again, those are just my 10 cents. I appreciate all you do. It's, but man, I'd like to get some clean shoes somewhere on the east end of Main Street, please, okay?
Need to be shiny.
Thank you. Shiny shoes.
Shiny shoes. Anyone else? If you would sign in and let us know who you are, please.
Do you sign in both? Or?
Oh, no, just now. If you could pass me that one, has somebody left their notes?
It's Dan's note.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I didn't know if another speaker had left it or something. I didn't want to violate their
Hi, my name is
confidentiality.
Mark Doran. I've been a resident in the neighborhood for over, actually, in about 3.5 hours, it'll be 67 years that I've lived in here. I didn't know I was going to spend my birthday eve with you fine folks, but I...
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate being here. I'm here to speak enthusiastically in favor of this development. I actually like it. I don't want to get Mr. Bornstein mad at me. I like the new proposal better than the previous one that was floated a few months back. I think it's a beautiful state-of-the-art. I'm excited about it, and if anybody that has the love that I have for you know, Hyannis and Lewis Bay and Hyannis Harbor, I would think you'd wrap your arms around the Bornsteins and thank them for putting this type of commitment into the community. By the way, I love shutters. I have Cape Cod shutters 3 weeks installed in my house, the real ones that, you know, that my sister lives next door to me, and I added them on to her house as well. I love them, but I think on this building, and I'm looking at it, since you mentioned it, and I'm looking at it, could you add shutters and would it make a difference? I love the architecture of it, and I guess you could play around with that. The other thing which some people brought up, for me, and I don't want to get on Mr. Bornstein's bad list if he has one, but I don't like the telephone poles going down there. If you could clear those off, and I know it's an additional expense, and it's really not fair to always put those burdens with the developer. I think it just makes it clean. And if you look at that picture from South Street looking down to the water, it's just one more thing. I love the, you know, as I said, I've seen this community change so much over the last 60 years. And it's really a credit to a lot of people like yourselves who have put a lot of effort into help designing it and moving it forward. Earlier today, I think it was 213 Ocean Street. Was kind of a dumpy motel up until these guys, and they're doing a nice job. But it's nice, and everybody's excited about it. And I'm excited about it too. I go by there, I get very, very excited. I know they owned a nice place down in Rhode Island, and they did a really nice job. And since the new people, I've actually met the owner. I'm excited what that's going to come out to in the additions that they do. But there's no comparison to the Bornstein development than what this is going to do to the community here and to the neighborhood and to the waterfront. I'm just surprised. Quite frankly, I think you guys, I don't know if there was a historic or the building commissioner or whoever, I'm not familiar with that process, but whoever put it into this current form, I think is spectacular, and I really believe that. And you can say, oh, there's too many cars, 53 units. Well, and those motels, those people are coming and going all day long. They're going for breakfast, then they're going out for dinner, then they're pulling their cars back in. It's a lot more traffic. I'd like to look and seriously look at purchasing one of these, and you won't get me leaving the place. I'll live there. The beautiful views overlooking the water. If you can get a peek of the water, if those are the 800,000, if I can get him to sign some document tonight that I could have Waterfront and Hyannis for 800,000, I'm on board. But I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a huge addition to the waterfront and to the Hyannis community. So I appreciate all you guys do and all the impacts that you have on the town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duran, for your comments. And the changes are part of Mr. Bornstein's bringing, and then this board's obligation to try to tweak to bring it into the purview. And 98% of the time, we manage to get something because we work on it and we try to work together.
I don't
And
know
also,
anybody, but you know, I grew up, there was a nursing home at the end of, even before they put the nursing home in at the end of South Street. That was fairly an ugly building, and then they made it into condos. But this brings it to a different level. This development is really spectacular, in my opinion. And by the way, I looked at a condo in Newton, and one parking space in Woburn, and they're $2 million for the one parking space, and they're selling them out. It's not, so I don't think that's really, if it's not for me, you don't buy them.
since you've said that, I'll point out that you do now have it on camera and town record that it's about 800,000. That's right.
By two.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Is the gentleman in the back, did you want to speak? No? I think there's another individual in the back. You're fine? Okay, I don't want to leave anyone out. In that case, I'm going to close public comment. Commissioners, what do you think about it?
You know, I think it's a beautiful building. I said that the last time you were here. I think the moldings and everything is perfect, you know. You know, we're here to discuss all the issues. Parking is not our problem, you know, it's not for us to discuss, but, you know, it's a consideration when we look at the massive size of this building, but I also think it's needed in this part of town, like the other gentleman said. I have two problems with the thing is, those poles, like you said, I think those should go away. And I'm a little concerned about this garbage on South Street, you know. Living in a condominium, I know the problem with garbage, you know.
I'll point out I've closed public comment for right now, so the commissioners are going to speak.
And you guys, I just don't like it on South Street. So the poles and the garbage, but I think the building, what you've done is beautiful. It's needed in that area. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Any other commissioners?
This is in favor, I think. If I get a vote in favor today, I'll take you on the polls. It's $180,000. I'll go ahead and do it. Just throw it in and get this ended.
But just, could I qualify that, though? The biggest pole in the picture is right on South Street, and that's a trunk line. We can't put that underground. So we're only talking about the ones going down School Street.
The ones going down the street.
Yeah, we can't do South Street. That'd be $1 million.
We'll get on to the different items in a moment. We're going to let the commissioners speak. Commissioner Matthews, you look like you're itching to say something.
It just looks like, it feels like, let's make a deal. Let's see how much we got.
Actually, to an extent, it is. It's
I'm at $850 for that one.
It's called Can We Make It Work? We've got that too.
So here's my thoughts. Sure, I mean, if we can get the poles down, I'm all for that. I think that's fantastic. Along School Street, School Street, not the trunk line, obviously. I don't know where else you would put the garbage. You're sure not going to put it on School Street because you're not going to get a garbage truck down that street to pick all that stuff up. It's got to be on South Street somehow, some way. So I understand the concerns that Tom has, but, you know, especially when you get all those apartments and throwing all the garbages. No, I get all that. But I just don't see any other way to do it. Not that I can think of. I think the building's beautiful. I appreciate you coming back with the details that we asked for today, the lights, the light poles, the way the windows are decorated and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate all that. I think it looks good. Again, I like that when you're talking about the lights, the pole, I like the top light that matches the pole, which I think is great. And again, my thought is that with a new building, I have to consider complementing all the adjacent and surrounding buildings, and no, it's not in our purview. Our life doesn't work in a vacuum, and I see the marina, I see the hospital, I see the Anchor Inn, I see the condo buildings, all somewhere between 2.5 to 3 to 4 stories with the condos. This doesn't seem so out of place to me in that area the way it looks right now. So that's my feelings right now about the project.
Any other commission comments before I make some comments? And it looks like Commissioner Clark, is that a?
Yeah, I'm
about
just
to
one
speak?
commissioner with one opinion, but, I would just like to reiterate, I do feel like we've set a precedent already with some of these projects that we can't mention, that we've pushed through. And fair is fair. And I'm looking at my notes. These other projects had 1-for-1 on parking, and I feel like we've wasted, and I am using that word, wasted, over an hour talking about parking. And what it's going to do to traffic. And on these other projects, if anyone, whether it was public comment or otherwise, came up and wanted to talk about traffic or trash or deliveries, garbage pickup, they were basically told it was like a bunch of hogwash. And I don't feel like it's fair that we're pressing this project that much when, the other ones you told basically don't worry about that, some of which sit right on Main Street and will absolutely disrupt parking more than this and traffic.
I have to point out to Commissioner Clark that also because this is in the historic waterfront district, it does have some differences on it.
I'd
but-
point out I'm aware of where it is,
Okay.
but I'm still making my comment.
That's fine. I just want to point out for
Thanks for pointing
everyone
that out, yeah.
Okay. You're welcome. All right. Any others? Yes, Commissioner Kay.
I think that we have beaten this horse as far as we can ride.
I have a couple things to clarify first. I go last, so I'm going to take that horse this way when you guys are done.
But the progress is amazing because the current offering here is the best we could hope for, and I think the soul of the project is good. And I think that to add this building where it is, surrounded by the monoliths that it is involved with, doesn't bother me in the slightest. And I think that there is a potential here to wake that part of Hyannis up. My family came here in 1928, so it's not like I haven't seen this part of the world change. So I'm all for it.
Okay. You realize we're not voting yet. We're just getting the opinions. Okay, so first of all, Mr. Bornstein and your team, I want to thank you for coming back before us and for making some of the changes. And hopefully you understand that we had to it is our job to, we don't show favorites. I don't allow that. What we do is we say, is this within our purview? Is it meeting the requirements? And if it isn't, then, because we have an obligation, we can't have everyone saying, well, you did it for this, you have to do it for that. So we have an obligation to try to make it work for where it is and everything else surrounding it. I am going to ask Mr. Ola, I'm so sorry, Ojala. I think I consistently mispronounce your name, and I do
Well,
apologize.
Finnish, it's Oyala, and no one can say that, so I go with Ojala.
Ojala, okay. Okay, so I had asked you to remember the one, I think you said it was slide 10, and that's with regard to the gingerbreads. We're not changing that building. Okay, oh, it's not slide 10. The one with the ginger.
Well, there's many, the details.
Actually, we want that one as well. With regard to, because that's further down the line, we'll just knock it off. Okay.
There's a sheet here and a sheet here that have many views on them. And then there's details of the cornices and stuff was a separate file.
So the cornices.
Okay.
But or we could go back to that first one.
I think we can find those.
If you want to stay with that one, we can go to that first one you showed, or whichever is convenient. And if anyone objects to, let me know, commissioners.
Are you looking for this drawing?
Yes. What number is that? There we go.
HD 40.
Okay, so there were a couple other, whoops, back. So you've mentioned, it said, that we'll use, there was a comment that we'll use one of them and decide whatever. Can we kind of tweak what's going to go where? Because I think one is more historical than the other. But is it that you'll just decide later, or do you know what's going up?
Yeah, I think we were intending that the one on the left was just to be at the entrances, and then the other one on the bottom is going to be underneath all the decks.
Underneath all the decks.
Like on the bottom image shows the beam under
I
the
got
deck
you.
and then the piece.
Well, I like those at the entrance. Does everybody feel that that's keeps with the historic character?
Yeah, I think that looks fine.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So there we go with that. Then back to the number 10. Is staff writing down what these are being added to? Thank you. Did you get all the others? Okay. So, the one with the trash cans. Now, it was just kind of commented out there that with that deck above, where I think we all agree, we really wouldn't want somebody sitting out there, I think it was said beer, I'm going to upgrade a little bit, and let's say they're champagne or something. So, looking at trash. But it was mentioned you could put some sort of awning or something there, or something to kind of,
Yeah, I think that might be a solution. We've got to be a little bit careful because it's a sprinklered building. And I don't know, but maybe if you do a fire-resistant fabric, we could put a little awning out there and maybe even some screening and a charcoal vent if we needed to handle odors.
because it looks to me, since that's the lobby, that those two small windows in the back are not there so people can peer out direct at the garbage. It's probably like bathrooms or something like that.
Well, it's, well, I wouldn't speak for the architect, but I think it's just to get a little light and air, yeah.
They're high, so you're not viewing into that area.
Okay.
We could possibly put a trellis or something there that has a,
It also helps you to sell the unit, and, you know, because the first thing they're going to say when they get on that deck is, you know, that's, you know, garbage. And not just on that one, but anywhere where that is, something to kind, because that also helps to hide it. Yeah? I agree with the utility poles. Mr. Duran, you mentioned, I believe. Mr. Doherty, you mentioned it. Jack, did you mention it as well?
Mr. Bornstein said he'd take care of it.
He did,
Yeah,
and we got the cost as well. So yes, I got it
That'll
down,
be
but
for the ones
that would be
going
one of
down
them.
the street, yeah, there's a main trunk line that runs up and down South
one-
Street.
which one is
So
it?
we'd be taking care of those two down there. But this one would have to stay because that's got
But
all
that
the
would go, the
wires for
big
the
one?
whole. No, those are the main trunk line that runs up and down from the hospital.
So you're leaving two out of
Well,
four?
yeah, but that's on South Street, and it's a main thoroughfare, and it's got juice for the whole area, so we simply can't do that. But going down South Street, what we'd have to do is they're probably gonna make us put another drop pole in right here, and then we'll run underground
Roughly
from
4
there.
poles.
You'll run it underground?
Plus one on the other side.
That would be the understanding, yeah. And then the only thing is that down at the end, you'd probably be looking at a transformer that's raised up above the flood grade, but is what it is. Maybe put a
Where would that go?
that would go,
Hidden.
well, it's not particularly hidden, unfortunately, but it would be down in
Camouflaged.
Mr. Kirker's area.
Can you put it elsewhere?
Well, the
In
last
the
poll is-
interest of good relations?
Yeah.
it's really the utility's gonna make.
I mean, down here is where the issue is, where if we get rid of the pole that's down here, then the flood elevation is going to be probably about 4 feet out of the ground. But again, it's just, they just did one at Bass River Marina. They're not terribly unsightly. I mean, it's just a cabinet.
Okay,
Better than a pole, I think.
it's better than a pole, but if we could try to get it so it's not adjacent to Mr. Kirker's land?
Well, we could certainly talk to the Steamship Authority, and if they allowed it on their side, we could do that. It's tight, there's only a 33-foot layout, and it's a little favoring green space on his side, but
And the two end poles would go?
the poles, yeah, that are here and here would go down, and I believe there's a third one as well.
Okay. So that's that. This is what we do. We tweak.
Beautiful, really nice.
Okay. Where are we on the shutters?
We're going to pass on the shutters.
Pass. It's whether or not we pass on the shutters. You don't have a vote. Okay.
Certainly, if it looks naked without them in full scale, we'll consider them, but, you know, that's...
I expect staff, 54 condos. I agree, it does look dense, but we're trying to come to some sort of coming to minds. Now, and extra lights. We talked there will be 4 extra lights down there on light poles, right?
I think that should be like a potential, because now removing those poles, there's city lights on those, we're gonna lose that.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to look at the photometrics.
Well, you're going to have lights.
Yeah,
So-
we'll make sure it's safe.
Right.
Well,
So I
so we
would,
need you to come back on a continuation, or can we kind of come up with something?
well, I would approve the building, and if you'd like to look at, if we add 4 more light poles, I'm sure we'll be fine. And if we need more than that, we'll come back. Would that be okay?
Yep. I'm only one voice, one vote.
Or can you not leave it at like 4 to 6? I mean,
Yeah, 4 to 6.
4 to 6?
Photometrics, there's a certain
4 to 6
lighting
is even better. We want to
level
amend that?
Yeah,
you should
and
have.
people do walk on
Near
up and
thing,
down.
it's
Yeah,
not just an arbitrary.
yeah. But the new LEDs can cast
Right.
wider and
Okay.
and direct light, so probably with 6, there's almost no question.
There's some there already.
With
Yeah,
those
yeah.
onion ones,
Yeah.
they're kind of glary, so you might need a lens in it or something.
Right. And, yeah, and the other thing is the town has very stringent standards on how bright they can be near the street, so we probably have to do fairly dull, spread out light spreads.
On Main Street, what we did was, rather than having the bright white, we had the yellow lights, which is kind of,
Even the LEDs,
Sure.
can they
Yeah.
soften them now? They look a lot nicer than they used to, yeah.
dimmer switches. Okay, so, what am I missing? I would very much appreciate if you, because I think Mr. Kirker's been through a lot here as well, if you can find some way not to have that on near his property. It's just,
Yeah, if he wants to tuck it into the bank, would be happy to do that for him, pull it up a little bit, and that would just be a little bit more cable. That's probably the solution.
Okay.
Rather than go way down the end where it's going to be elevated, keep it back up in the bank and tuck it in the side. So I can absolutely work with him on that. I get along well with him, and I'll
and we
give him
have
a
your
call.
word with that, for that.
We'll do
Thank
the
you.
best we can to
And
not
the
have that
utility has
elevated.
requirements about that. It's
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
totally up to us.
Yeah, yeah, but because the ground rises as it comes up, as long as he's willing, we'll probably, I think that's a very reasonable solution to pull it back up
Which
the hill a
Hinckley were
bit.
you related to?
Okay.
Bunch of
The
different ones.
parking is an issue, but I understand there's 16 spaces if you have 70 parking, and there's 54 units, and that leaves, even if each room, or each condo only has one, you're still 16 short.
We have 71.
Oh, 71, sorry. Okay, so you're 15 short. I think to an extent, it's,
15 extra.
yeah.
We're over by 16 or 17.
They were the only ones that
Thing
gave
is,
me
if
credit.
the
at the
parking's
lumberyard.
underground, then it doesn't really impact on the character, in my opinion. But you'd still have the problem up top. If you can do something so it's not, I do think it's going to be a problem. I agree with people, because even the parking across from School Street, it is packed during the day. As Commissioner Hinckley and I both know, you can sit in front of the hospital, moving up 2 car spaces for that light on Main Street during the summer, and it can take you forever. So, or we can do something with that. So telephone poles are not going to be there. And as I said, I do want to stress that this is a new proposal. I think, again, Mr. Duran, you had commented that you like this new proposal more than you like the old proposal. We do too, because I didn't think the old proposal was in keeping, spot on. The East End, and I do think it's important for the East End. So it's really down to what the commissioners feel on this. Jim, can you read off, and it's up to the commissioners, please, if there's anything I've left out. I've tried to mark them all. for the various things that you mentioned? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Jim?
No, I have nothing further.
No, could you read out the list we have?
We have the list as well as the additional submitted materials, yes. Yep.
Okay. All right, we've already closed public comment. So are we ready to go for a motion on the findings?
Sure, I'll do it. I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with the preservation and protection of the district with the pre-mentioned stipulations that we had come together with here at the final draw here.
I will second that. How's that?
There you go.
There you go.
Heat down in here, honestly. All right. Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham.
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
I will also say aye, but I'm going to ask you to make every effort for those. Commission for Certificate of Appropriateness.
Oh, I got it.
You want to read it together?
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness to the application at, what is the address?
110.
Know it by heart by now?
115 South Street.
Oh, strike that, School Street, we had it
School
changed to School Street. There's a typo in Lawler's letter. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Based on the stipulations mentioned.
There you go.
Who won the...
Take Jack. Yeah.
All right, again, Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark.
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham. Commissioner Doherty.
Aye.
Commissioner Kay.
Aye.
Okay, I'll also say aye. Thank you for working with us on this.
Appreciate the careful review. Thank you.
I want to thank the board for the time. Believe me, I know.
No, we didn't bring them.
I want to thank you all. I think you'll be very, very happy with the result. That I promise you. It'll look as good and better.
I started in
Promise.
1990. Project really well. You should give me.
It'll look,
1997 is when I started on it. Keenan and Kenny Architects.
problem with
They're in
he
business.
seems to think he owns everything on the water. There's nothing I can do.
We're going to give them a few minutes to clear out.
Beautiful building.
Thank you, everyone.
We're not done yet.
Appreciate you.
Can I get the flash?
Thank you again.
Yeah, you can just exit out and grab it, yep.
Is there any extra paperwork?
Thank you.
Any paperwork?
I really mean that. We put a lot of work in.
Looks good. Looks terrific.
It'll be an asset for the town.
I think so.
Stu, we still have a meeting.
Yeah, we still got to continue here.
Still got a little bit of a meeting.
Oh, yes.
You guys can celebrate in the hallway.
Yeah, thank you.
You don't want any paper, do you?
You
By the way,
so-
I just
No,
wanna
I
let
have
you
the
know,
PDFs.
Sitting in the seat right now, I cannot begin to tell you how hot it is, and I'm not kidding. It's very hot in the seat.
Thank you.
Very hard?
What are you doing?
No, the seat is very hot. I'm not kidding.
You sat in that seat to figure oh,
No, I just sat in it.
oh, hot. I thought you said hard.
It's very hot.
You sat in that seat to see what the temperature was?
Thank you so much.
Exactly, but I'm just making the comment now.
Good night.
I just find it ironic. Thank you.
Night.
Onwards and upwards.
Thank you.
Good night.
So, I'm wondering if I missed something. Okay, we don't have any matters not reasonably anticipated by the board or by the chair. Approval, January 17th minutes. Whoever was not here, who was not here for the January 17th? One?
I'm mulling in.
Oh, you did mull it in. You did mull it in. That's right. Yeah, you're good. So you mulled in. Absolutely. And I want to point that out for the...
Mullen is for the vote, but if he
Yeah,
read the record.
and to point out for the record,
Watch the whole show.
yeah,
It got better and better.
did you use popcorn, have popcorn on hand? Okay, so I should, for the record, point out that Commissioner Kay did mull in for this, so according to all the requirements, and those have been met in order to vote. I should have said that to begin with. All right. Anyone want to make a proposal for the January 17th minutes?
Sure, I propose we accept the January 17th minutes.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Commissioner Kay?
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Aye.
It's all right. Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
I also say aye. So those are, it's a proposal we accept and we vote. It's good. So they've accepted. The next meeting will be on February the 21st, and the one after that will be March 6th. Motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Commissioner Hinckley Needham?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Thank you.
Commissioner Doherty? Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Kay? And also, I want to thank staff. You've been very helpful, and you've put in a lot of hard work. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Bye, guys.